freaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you, that game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute blazer from Cooch, wasn't it? What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl-bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. And listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast, live from Benchmark International Arena. Happy February 25th, 2026. Hope everybody is well out there. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. We have the visiting Toronto Maple Leafs on the ice right now here at the arena ahead of the matchup tonight at 7:30 here at the arena. Again, a big thank you to our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, Evra Health as well. We could not do this without you guys. Very fortunate to be able to have people like that here joining us on the program. Great show for you guys today. Very great show. Just exciting. It is exciting to be here with you. And, you put things in perspective sometimes in here. Head coach John Cooper, his father passed away for all the ball busting between Coop and I. He's a guy that we have a very special relationship, he and I, and we've known each other now for 12 years. Just to hear news like this, your heart goes out to the Cooper family. If you remember, he missed the game a couple of months ago, and it was because he was visiting his dad. So it's just the unbelievable wave of emotions for John Cooper and him, and his family, his dad passing. You're just, again, our thoughts and prayers go out to John Cooper and his family. Coop's one, man. He really is. He's one of the best people that I've met. He's one of the greatest coaches in the history of sports, the greatest coach in Tampa Bay sports, without a doubt. Won't be behind the bench tonight, won't be behind the bench tomorrow. It looks like he could be back on Saturday here at Benchmark International Arena, but you got to take care of what you got to take care of in a situation like that. So from what we heard from assistant coach Rob Zettler, and we're going to hear from him in a little bit, it happened a couple of nights ago, and Coop and his family left Tampa early this morning to head up to Vancouver to be with his family and lay his father to rest. It's just tough, man. We've been, kind of just talking smack back and forth for the last couple of weeks. Obviously, Coop, the head coach of Canada. But this is just on another level. It really is. You wouldn't wish this on your worst enemy, especially a guy like Coop, who we love and we revere so much here in the Tampa Bay area. Again, I can't say and send enough condolences out for him and his family. So please, everybody out there, keep John Cooper and his entire family in your thoughts and prayers as they're, dealing with this very, very tough time right now after the passing of his father. So hopefully the team can rally around that. And we've seen this team be so resilient this year to be able to deal with all the trials and the tribulations and know what was going on. And I'm sure they were privy to, the health issues for his dad. So hopefully they can kind of rally together and come away with a good performance tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll hear from assistant coach Rob Zettler. We'll hear from Jake Guentzel, the Olympic gold medal winner. Also, his decision not to go to the White House. Why did that happen? And then also Erik Erlendsson, who represented Slovakia, and J.J. Moser, who represented Switzerland. Got to catch up with all those guys earlier today, so we'll play that for you here in the opening segment. We'll also have 3 guests on the program today. At 12:30, Chris Adams-Wall will join us, Rays Radio, from down there in Port Charlotte, ahead of the Rays matchup today. At 1 o'clock, Erik Erlendsson joins us for his weekly visit to discuss all things Tampa Bay Lightning. And then at 1:30, live from Indianapolis at the NFL Combine, Matt Matera of Pewter Report will join us as well. So we're going to go all over. This is the Recher podcast for you. We're live here at Benchmark International Arena. We'll go to Port Charlotte with Chris Adams-Wall at 12:30. We'll go over to Brandon, where Double E lives, for 1 o'clock, and then all the way up to Indianapolis for the NFL Combine with Matt Matera from Pewter Report. Also, I want to talk about a crazy night in baseball, something that happened to UT. The Sickles and Alonso game, and then the game that I was at last night between Steinbrenner and Jefferson. And as always, a big shout out to our friends at 813 Preps. Jared Guthrie and the crew do an incredible job over there. Can't say enough nice things about them. Make sure you follow them and give them as much love and attention as you can. And same thing for me. Follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Every single super chat really helps. Whatever, 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, whatever you guys can give. That's how we're going to keep this train going. All right. Let's start off with Jake Guentzel. He was the first person that we spoke with this morning, the gold medal winner. And I know a lot of people were wondering why he didn't go to the White House. And for him, it wasn't so much of, any kind of political statement. It was more because of the timing. The Lightning back in action tonight, being with his family, the rest in the recuperation, kind of turning the page and focusing now on the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I'm going to pull this up for you guys so you can hear Jake Guentzel speak about that experience in Milan. I mean, what an experience it was for him to be able to hoist the first gold medal for Team USA since 1980. So let's pull this up for you guys right now. Here's Jake Guentzel speaking after morning skate today.
Obviously, unbelievable 2 weeks. Just it's pretty incredible what we were able to accomplish over Milan, and it's been a long time coming for USA Hockey to get the gold medal. So we feel pretty blessed. I'm super proud of the group, and I was just obviously very thankful for the opportunity to represent the USA in the Olympics. So yeah, super proud, and obviously a really exciting time for me and my family. Just to go on with the White House stuff, it was just kind of a timing thing for me and my family. Thought it was I was definitely not denying the request to go. It was obviously a dream come true to go. I was fortunate to go in 2017 and when Trump was in office, but just thought with the games 3 and 4, we got a lot of games coming up the rest of the year. It's gonna be a tough schedule. So 2 weeks of Olympic break, thought it would be good to just kind of come home, rest and recover, and try to spend some time with my family before we get going. So that's where I'm at with it.
Into another mission here. How does winning a gold medal for your country compare to winning a Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I mean, they're both unbelievably special, and it's hard to point one or the other, but when you get to do it for your country, and especially against Canada in that kind of environment and that kind of game, after the women's did it too before. So it was, we went there to go for 2 for 2 with the men and the women's, and we did that. So that's it's pretty cool for us to do that first time in history.
What was Austin like as a captain?
He's just an unbelievable guy. Leadership, does it on and off the ice, and I just can't talk too much about how good of a player he is on the ice. And he plays in all situations for our team, and he does that for Toronto as well. So he was, I loved playing with him.
What did you appreciate about how he handles the pressure?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's under a lot of heat a lot of times, so he's pretty even keeled. He stays in his lane, and he goes through a lot, but he shows it with his game.
You and Hagel obviously playing each other in the gold medal game, and I know you guys are so close, like off the ice, away from this. What was that experience like? You both kind of like laid it all out there in that game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love Hags. He's one of my best friends on this team, and we were talking throughout the whole tournament. So once that game kind of hit, those kind of just, you're playing for your country, and there's bigger things, but it was just fun to go against him and compete against those guys. And obviously, once you see each other in the handshake line, it's back to being best friends.
Jake, at the end of the game, I noticed that you went over to John Cooper and you guys had sort of a moment. What did you say to each other? It's obviously a unique situation going against your club coach.
Yeah, it's special. It's we've had a couple of these last 2 years, so it's I'm fortunate to have him as my coach, and it was just more as this. Well, hopefully we'll do this together sometime soon. And yeah, it was really nice for him to kind of seek out for me and congratulate me like that.
What were those moments like after Jack Hughes makes that goal in overtime?
I wish I could remember. It was, yeah, kind of blacked out, the excitement, just the relief. You're pretty nervous going into before overtime there, so it was a lot of relief, but couldn't happen to a better guy.
One of the things that you guys have talked a lot about during that tournament was the family atmosphere that was created. Like, how do you do that when you're just together for 2 weeks? I know the Four Nations probably plays into it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We had a pretty good group at the Four Nations where we all got pretty close, and for us to do something this summer with everyone there, it was pretty special. So we bonded as a group pretty well, and right from the start of this tournament, we felt like we were destined to win, and we felt like we had the team to win. So yeah, it was an unbelievable group to be a part of, and obviously it'd be different when they're on the other side now.
Have you had a chance to speak to Coach Cooper? We just got the news his father passed away. And
Yeah, I was texting with them on Monday when we were flying back, but obviously a really sad day for him and his family.
how different does it feel when he's not on the bench?
Yeah, it's going to be totally different. It's I think we've had it one time this year already, so Helpy's going to I think take it over. But yeah, it's going to be different. But yeah, we just got to step up and try to get the win for him.
How do you switch your mindset from that Olympic mindset and now back being with your team and kind of this chase that you guys have for the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be like I said earlier, it's just been a whirlwind over time. The last couple of days have been a lot, and there's no other way to do it than just get ready for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Just obviously we put ourselves in a good spot so far, and I think we got 27 games in 50 days, so it's gonna be a tough push, but we feel like we're in a good spot.
And there you go, the Olympic gold medalist Jake Guentzel from Benchmark International Arena today. I just, we're in a really weird spot. We're in a really weird spot in this country now where people are looking at the men that were honored at the White House, and people are just like losing their minds, and they're listen, you don't have to, you could like Trump, you could don't like Trump. Getting honored at the White House, you put yourself in a spot like you may not agree with what the president is about. You may not agree with his politics, but getting honored on behalf of your team and getting recognized by our country. Yeah, I think there's certain times where, in my opinion, you might want to compartmentalize it a little bit. And I don't know if and you may disagree with this, and that's fine. Some people will say, well, I'm glad that the women didn't go. And I know I see some guys in the chat. I'm glad the women, had, the courage not to go. And I'm just like, all right, that's your prerogative. I don't necessarily agree with all of Trump's politics at all, nor do I particularly like the things that he says. And I think he is divisive. But you have an opportunity to get recognized by your country. To me, that supersedes politics. That means you're getting recognized by the entire, it's a State of the Union address. You're getting honored by everybody there, not just the president of the United States. You look at how many different TV stations were locked into the State of the State of the Union address. You're getting recognized around the world. So I don't look at it in any shape or form as, you not standing on business. I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. I don't really agree with that because we are a nation, whether people want to admit it or not, good or bad. That's just the way it goes. Like I am not going to not be proud of our country because of the warts, because of the bad things. I'm going to stand up and like I have in the past, call out things that aren't right and people that don't go about their business in the right way. No doubt about it. You guys know me, as transparent and honest as I can be. I do not condone those things that I've heard, the divisive comments. I'm a person that brings people together. But I also think that, just because you go to the White House and you represent your country and you represent your team and you're getting celebrated by your entire country, I don't look at that like it's, you're condoning poor behavior and you're condoning some of the actions by our president. I don't believe that. I don't. And I don't think it's fair that they get lumped in like that. I don't. I think we should continue to, just because other people don't believe in finding ways to bring people together doesn't mean that you need to be part of the problem. You could be part of the solution. So again, Jake Guentzel said it right there. He's not a person that is declining the invite by any means. You know, I kind of look at it too, where, you know, we've gone into business now with a lot of our companies, you know, WWE being one of them and UFC being one of them, going into Saudi Arabia, and people were up in arms. I can't believe, look at how they treat women over there. And listen, it was tough, like, to watch that, and to watch early on how there was no women involved. And then Natalia and Lacey Evans get involved, and they're covered from head to toe. And early on in those events, you didn't see any women in the stands at all. And now you're seeing women at these events. So they were part of the solution. They're part of the change. Is it going to be perfect? No. Just because you go and do business over there, and I get there's money involved, and you always want to follow the money. So I don't want to act like it's this big altruistic type of thing. But I'm going to try to find the positives in situations like these. You look at the honor that is going to be bestowed on Connor Hellebuck. I think that's a fantastic moment. I don't want to talk about anything else that was going on last night about, you know, aliens versus U.S. citizens or any politics. That's another show for another day. We're not talking about that. But as far as those guys going there and just being celebrated by our country during one of the biggest nights of the year during the State of the Union address, that wasn't a moment to kind of rub it in anybody's face. I thought that was just a moment to recognize the guys that went over and represented the best that this country has to offer. That's in my belief. Again, agree to disagree, but that's where I'm at in the entire situation. Let's also hear from Rob Zettler, who spoke earlier today. Let me pull this up for you. Rob Zettler, and of course, if you're just joining us, very sad to be able to hear the news about John Cooper and his father passing. Rob Zettler and the entire crew behind the bench will kind of do what they can to kind of hold it down. Here is what Rob Zettler had to say. And listen, some big stuff here from the Tampa Bay Lightning as far as who's going to be in the lineup. If you remember, I mentioned to you guys yesterday, I think there's a really good chance that we'll see 11 and 7 today after morning skate today. Let me bring him in here.
Came back. What do you expect or want to see from your guys tonight?
Gosh, you know, the one thing we talked about is after congratulating all the Olympians for an unbelievable effort. Just talking about, you know, puck management, playing a good team in Toronto, division team. We haven't played a ton of division games, so these ones are critical. You know, we had a really good run coming into the Olympic break. We just didn't get a ton of separation from the teams in our division, and these are chances for us. You know, we got Toronto tonight, got Buffalo in a couple nights, so just chances for us to get a little bit more separation.
A lot of the guys talked about that run going into the break and how they feel pretty confident they can keep that play going. What is the key to that after a little bit of time off?
Well, I think, you know, obviously, you know, the old saying, kind of keep it simple, but puck management's going to be a big part of it, especially when you haven't played in 2 weeks. You know, I think just making sure we manage the puck well going into it. But, you know, our success is coming. You know, we don't give up a lot of chances, knock on wood, going into tonight, but our success has come from, you know, breaking the puck out and managing the puck coming out of our end. And we've done a really good job of that over the last couple months. So hopefully that trend will continue over with, you know, 2 weeks off.
What do you think tonight will be like for the guys coming off the Olympics?
You know, it's a tough one. I think initially probably they'll be the best players on the ice, I would think. You know, they haven't been. We got, you know, the bulk of both teams that have been, you know, watching on their couch in 5 practices. But ultimately, did an excellent job of doing that. He's kind of, you know, been the surprise for us back there. You know, we'll probably play 7D tonight. So those guys that haven't played a ton over the last couple of months or at all over the last couple of months won't get a lot of minutes, but they'll kind of get eased into it. So I think that'll be an advantage for them.
What challenge is that for you as the guy who runs the defense?
Yeah, it's, you know, you got 7 guys that can play. You know, you go down the list, you look at our D-core, it's pretty solid back there. So my challenge is making sure everybody gets into it early, everybody gets enough ice time and sharing it. And also managing, you know, just some guys aren't going to play as much as they used to. That's just what it's going to be.
What sort of conversations have you had with John since the Olympics and just your sense of Cooper and how he's holding up?
Well, I think his dad passed away 2 nights ago or the other night. Spoke to him at length last night about a lot of personal stuff, but thoughts and prayers as always to Coop and his family. That was the number one thing, that he takes care of business back home. He left this morning to go back to Vancouver. But what I am really confident in is our guys. They've been excellent in so many ways this year, including times like this where Coop's missing or something happens to one of the guys. We've had guys step up all year, whether it's injury or whether it's personal reasons, people missing games, and they've really done an excellent job of responding. So I expect nothing less. They expect nothing less of themselves, but Coop's a huge part of this. He leads the way for us in so many ways. So we want to make sure we get a good showing for him.
Have you reached the point with this team to where, like, you don't have to say much to it going into games, like they already understand?
It's mostly reminders. I think you're 55 games into the season, so if they don't know what they're doing, we're not doing our job as coaches. But it's mostly reminders. That'll be the message tonight. Nothing new. Just focus on these 3 things. We usually give them 2 or 3 things to kind of focus on once tracking these guys because they are so dynamic. But that's going to be the message to these guys.
And with Sorelli out of the red con, no contact, is it clear for contact? Is he a step closer?
Step closer, full practice yesterday, and then in full bumping yesterday. But he hasn't taken any face-offs and really grinding that. So he'll sit tonight. Probably won't see him tomorrow night. And the hope is that he gets back in there Saturday.
What's your sense of Braden Point and his sense of anticipation to get in there?
He's pumped. As you could imagine, both him and Tony were crushed. That was a tough one for them to sit back and watch that. But Pointer's ready to go. You'll see him tonight, and he's flying. So I think he's pretty excited to get back in there.
There you go. Lightning assistant coach Rob Zettler speaking earlier today at Benchmark International Arena. So there you go. 11-7. I told you guys to keep an eye on that. I thought 11-7 was a distinct possibility today, and that's what we're going to get with the Tampa Bay Lightning. 8 healthy defensive now. I would assume that Declan Carlisle is scratched, but 11-7, and we will go from there. Braden Point will be back, so that's a good sign. Anthony Cirelli, not tonight, not tomorrow, should be back on Saturday. Still no Nicky Paul either, so I anticipate we'll see Point, Kucherov, and Hagel. Point, Kucherov, Hagel. Line 2, Guentzel, Gonsalves, and Dominic James. Line 3, Gord, Gergensons, and Holmberg. And then we'll see probably Sabrin and Douglas, Bjorkstrand, something like that. So 2 of those 3 guys will be in the lineup as well. I just want to say, Richie P, as an American who served my country, and thank you so much for your service, Richie. There's nothing more American than to speak your mind and stand on business. Yeah, as long as it's like that for both sides, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that, right? Do what you got to do, man. Do what you got to do, right? All right, I also want to hear from JJ Moser. JJ, what a guy. Just this dude, unbelievable to catch up with him. Our relationship. He's a maniac. Fantastic job in the Olympics for Switzerland. Let me bring him up here. All right, here's JJ Moser speaking about his Olympic experience and getting back in action tonight for the Bolts. JJ, great to see you back here in the Lightning locker room. Just tell us about the experience for you. It seemed like it was just one of those unforgettable memories for you and your crew there.
Exactly. It's just a lot of fun. That's the biggest thing. It's a very special tournament that, it's every 4 years only, so try to make the most out of it. But the experience was great. Had a little family coming down, which was fun too, to have them around. Other than that, just all around great experience.
How do you turn the page now? I know it's easier said than done, but obviously you guys played amazing before the break.
How do you kind of dial back in, center things going, and get ready for a tough matchup against Toronto tonight?
Just focus on what we have been doing before the break and what we have to do from here on until the end of the season. Just do the little things right and trust the process. I think we've done it in the past. No reason to not do it again.
How surreal is it just being back here in this locker room and knowing guys were playing for all different countries and now you're just putting together?
Not that surreal. It's like normal, like you know how it's gonna be that you're gonna play against them and then now you're gonna play with them again. So I think it's kind of normal. It doesn't feel too surreal.
You guys are so close. You guys are so close. Like before the Olympics, like this team is just so close in general on and off the ice. Do you feel like that kind of makes it more of a natural transition when you come back from the Olympics? You guys just kind of pick up where you left off.
Yeah, I'd for sure say it always helps if you're close and you have a good groove in the team. So it makes it easier to come back and get right into it for sure.
How's the body feeling? What's it like kind of reacclimating to Tampa?
Body feels pretty good. I think obviously there's the time change that you have to adapt a little bit, but yeah, it's kind of hard.
My guy JJ Moser speaking today, and how good has he been for the Tampa Bay Lightning this year? Just absolutely incredible. I would assume with the 7 guys, you're going to see him and Radish out there together. McDonough, and who we'll hear from in a second, Erik Erlendsson, and then you'll see Hedman, Dastu, and Lilleberg kind of rotating there. And hopefully Hedman, we didn't see him on the ice today dealing with that groin injury that he sustained in the pregame warmups before the game against USA. Hopefully he'll be okay. Come on, David Terry. Love JJ, but man, bad choice of Premier Club to root for. You got that right, buddy. No updates, Benny, yet on Gabby Shirley, but my good friend Julie Stewart-Binks is still here doing her thing. She was actually in the suite with me before we were recording. She said, Jay, I got to do a TikTok. Can you help? And, you know, you got to help out your friends. You got to help out your pals. So we were here, and I was recording her stuff. So maybe check her out on all social media platforms as well. And then we finished with Drago, our guy Chernak. Unbelievable performance for him and Slovakia. It was funny. I was mentioning to Ryan McDonough how when I'm watching Cherney, I'm pulling for USA against Slovakia, but when Cherney and Matthew Tkachuk were throwing it, I was pulling for Chernak. I'm not rooting, even though it's in the game, I'm not rooting for Matthew Tkachuk fighting our guy Drago. Here is Erik Chernak from earlier today as well.
Cherney, man, just talk about your experience, man. I mean, you were a huge part of it, man, and you guys did a heck of a job there in the tournament.
Yeah, that was amazing experience, you know, to be at the Olympics. It's every kid's dream, you know, to play for a country at the Olympics. So we had the chance to do it, and I think overall, you know, that was a great tournament for Slovakia. We finished 4th. Even that was kind of tough loss for the 3rd place for the bronze medal, but that's obviously the life, you know. That's why you play those games, and yeah, just proud for the guys, and happy how we finished.
What were you doing on your off days? Were you one of those guys that was checking out other sports, or were you resting, recovering? What were you doing?
I was resting, recovering. You know, we were like checking to Milan a little bit with my teammates, had some good dinners and stuff. So overall, that was great. You know, to see part of the Europe. I'm European, so that was cool to be back, and we wanted to go see skiing and stuff like that to Cortina, but it was 4 hours away, so we didn't want to spend 4 hours there, 4 hours back. You know, a lot of time in the car, so we just decided to stay back and relax.
I kind of switch gears and get ready for a game like tonight and kind of reacclimate to this group here.
Yeah, I mean, that was automatic, you know, easy. I was super excited to come back, see the guys, you know, see the coaching staff, trainers, and everybody. This is the family here, you know. I love being here. It's my home, so you know, it was easy to come back, and I had the morning skate ready to get to Toronto, and hopefully we're gonna get the win for our head coach.
There we go. And that's the big thing too, right? Like all these guys are going to be battling for John Cooper, and it's just, you feel, again, your heart goes out to him and his entire family, and it's a special group. It's a very special group, and they know what's going on, and they know why he missed the time earlier on this year. And you know, there's nothing you can really say. As much as we talk about the gold medal and how disappointing that was, like it pales in comparison to what he's dealing with right now. So I can't say it enough, and we'll say it multiple times on the show today. Our hearts and prayers, our thoughts and prayers go out to John Cooper, who lost his dad the other night, and he will not be behind the bench tonight against the Maple Leafs, nor tomorrow in Carolina against the Hurricanes. So we're just, condolences to him and his group there. You don't wish that on anybody. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit. And we're going to talk some Rays baseball. We're going to go down to Port Charlotte. Our guy Chris Adams-Wall here in the house. What's up, buddy? How are you?
What's going on, Jay? Great to be on with you.
Yeah, man, it's been a while, buddy. I hope you are well. I hope you had it's already February 25th, man. I mean, it's like, opening day is going to be here before you know it. How's life in PC?
Life in PC has been great. Yeah, you said it, opening day. I mean, 1 month from tomorrow, if you can believe that.
Gosh.
And it's going to be a cold one. That's all that I've been talking about on the broadcast because the Rays have a 9-game roadie to start the season. And then we're back at Tropicana Field on April 6th against the Chicago Cubs. St. Louis, outdoors, March 26th, 3 games there. You go to Milwaukee, farther north. Thankfully, that's inside. And then you go to Minnesota for the Twins opener. That's outside, and that's early April. So bundle up. And then after that, it's Pittsburgh and Chicago, or I guess it's Chicago, then Pittsburgh, middle of April. That'll probably be a little nippy. And then you end the month with a little trip to Cleveland. So you're going to need the winter hats, I think, to start the season.
No doubt about it, man. I was at the baseball field last night, and I'm just like, it's 46 degrees out here. What are we doing out here? This is wild. It's funny because I was talking to Kevin Cash's nephew is actually on my 13-year-old team. So I was talking with Kevin Cash's brother, Justin, the other day, and just, man, it's an exciting season for him. I think you could. All right. The last couple years haven't been what we thought they were going to be, Chris. And I feel like Kevin's looking at this roster right now and going, this is a different group. And I think he's looking for leaders to emerge. Who are you looking for as far as, because, no Lau, no Lowe. You trade a Boz, Bradley obviously get rid of last year. Pete Fairbanks is gone. Who outside of the normal, all right, we know Caminero and Yandy, who were some of those guys that were maybe like in the mix, but now have to take a step forward as far as the leadership core with this Rays club?
Yeah, you said it. I mean, there are a lot of names that are no longer here that we've grown really accustomed to seeing in Rays uniforms, but you got a lot of new guys too. One guy who hasn't played quite yet just because of general soreness, he's fine though, is Gavin Lux, right? So remember, at one point in time, Gavin Lux was maybe the top prospect in all of baseball, by a lot of lists, the second top prospect in all of baseball. The Dodgers made the playoffs every single year that he was on the team, and he was a pretty big part of what they were trying to do. And what happened when he played for the Reds last year? He also got to the postseason. Right. I don't know if he's a good luck charm or what, but even though he's 26 years old, he is going to be a key contributor to this team. How about Cedric Mullins also, 31 years old? The Rays have seen him and seen him and seen him on the other side. He's gotten a lot of big hits against them, made some timely plays defensively. So I think he's another big one to watch. And then I really like the addition of Nick Martinez, who is now the highest paid player on the team. But he helped get the Reds to the playoffs last season. He's 35. He's a grizzled veteran. He knows how to pitch. I think he's going to be a good stabilizer for this rotation. Let's not forget Steven Matz, who I think is slated to go tomorrow for the first time as a Ray, taking on his former team, the Boston Red Sox. There are a lot of guys who could emerge. Junior Caminero, you mentioned his name already, but he has gotten a lot better at speaking English this offseason. So keep your eye on that. Junior's been awesome so far. Hit 112 off the bat yesterday in the Rays' 12-1 demolition of the Twins. Got 3 RBIs in that game, so he already looks like he's in midseason form. Yandy popped a home run also.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I actually spoke to Junior at the outdoor game. They were at practice. So I was actually standing next to him and hanging out with Junior and Ryan Pepio and Ian Seymour, which was cool. We were there for like an hour standing next to each other shooting the breeze. And, from the first time I talked to Junior a couple years ago to now, like you could definitely tell, like he's a lot more comfortable. He's getting in on the conversation. It's really cool to see, man. I'm very excited about that. I wanted to ask you about the shortstop position. I had Mark Topkin on Friday, and I was kind of asking him about Carson Williams and Taylor Walls, and I know Walls is dealing with a little, oblique issue right now, but starting day or opening day shortstop, is it going to be Taylor Walls? Do you think Carson Williams goes down? Because he got his cup of coffee last year. Obviously, the offense is not where it probably could be at one point. But what do you make of the shortstop position? Because I think ideally, if this team is really going to compete, Carson Williams needs to be that guy, and then Taylor Walls is kind of your super switch hitting guy, matchup lefty righty kind of thing, end of the game substitution. I feel like that's probably when this team is at its peak. That's where he'll be. But what are we going to see in the beginning of the season, Chris?
I think the plan has to be Taylor Walls there. If this team is going to be competitive and get back to the postseason, they are going to have to pitch and they are going to have to defend better than most. Who's the best defensive shortstop in all of baseball? Taylor Walls. Now, he was stretching this weekend, getting ready for that game against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he apparently tweaked something. It's not thought to be serious. He was scratched from the lineup that day just as a precautionary measure. But Rays manager Kevin Cash said that he is expected to resume baseball activities, I believe, this weekend. So I think Walls should be good to go. Carson Williams, we saw him get a little bit of time up here at the end of last season. Struck out 44 times in 99 at-bats, so he's going to have to cut down on those. Obviously had the big moment with the home run in his big league debut. A ton of talent there. I would expect him to begin the season at AAA Durham just to get a little bit more seasoning, get some more reps down there. Don't forget about Ben Williamson, though. The Rays just acquired him from the Seattle Mariners. Everyone I've talked to over there raves about his glove. He said maybe not Nolan Arenado, but maybe like the step below that in terms of defense. He's played some shortstop already in spring training games. He can hit the ball pretty well. Played in 85 games for that Mariners team last season, who, of course, came to within a few outs of going to their first ever World Series. So don't dismiss Ben Williamson. I mean, he's going to be in the mix too. I don't know if he's going to be the opening day starting shortstop because Walls is so good defensively there. So is Williamson, though. But I expect Ben Williamson to play pretty much everywhere in the infield except maybe first base.
What do you think about this bullpen? We mentioned Pete Fairbanks, and obviously it's a big loss just because of the guy. As much of the great pitcher he's been, the human being, right? This is a guy that is one of the leaders of this team. How do you think the bullpen is going to shake out? Because one thing I love about the Rays every year is that, hey, man, they're going to have a guy that you probably never heard of, and he's probably going to throw in 65, 70 games and have an ERA under 2. So it's pretty cool.
It's tremendous. And look, we wish Pete Fairbanks the best. He was a key contributor to a lot of big Rays victories from 2020. Remember, he closed out that final game against the Houston Astros, Game 7, to get the Rays to the World Series in 2020 against the LA Dodgers. But this is a new day in the Rays bullpen. And we talked to Rays manager Kevin Cash at camp just a couple of days ago about it. And whether you want to call it closer by committee or mixing and matching, I think that is going to be the approach when it comes to closing out these close ball games. And whether you want to go with Griffin Jax, Garrett Clevenger, Brian Baker, or a guy like Kevin Kelly, who's pitched in the 9th inning. They obviously have Edwin Uceda, but he's down right now. We'll see if he's ready for opening day. Hunter Biggie will be back, also a guy who can hit triple digits. So I think this is when Kevin Cash really enjoys the bullpen, right? When he can choose based on a situational basis, who's the best guy right now to get us those final 3 outs. And he said, look, if someone emerges and becomes our new Pete, so to speak, or the new closer, then great. He's not against that at all. But I think it's going to be kind of an all-hands-on-deck approach, at least at the beginning of the season. And the Rays have some electric arms. We saw Griffin Jax pitch Sunday against Pittsburgh. He allowed a leadoff single in Bradenton and then struck out the next 3 batters consecutively. He has some of the best stuff in baseball. So I'm excited to watch Griffin Jax. He, of course, is suiting up for the United States at the World Baseball Classic with Garrett Clevenger. So we wish them all the best. We wish Edwin Uceda the best in getting ready for opening day. Brian Baker, though, another guy you can use. Kevin Cash made it clear, though, all those guys have pitched in the 9th inning a bunch throughout their career. they are not going to shy away from those opportunities. So we'll see. And maybe someone else will emerge also. I mean, you never know with the Tampa Bay Rays. You get them in the Kyle Snyder factory, and all of a sudden you have one of the best bullpens in baseball.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Have you talked to Steven Matz about the Matt sandwich?
I haven't talked about the Matt sandwich. All I got from him was why he was called Reno, which is his nickname, and apparently it was his dad or his parents always calling him Steve Reno when he was growing up, and he said the nickname still sticks every time that they come to one of his games. It's Reno, Reno, Reno. That's where it comes from. What's the Matt sandwich, though? Tell me.
So the Matt's is at Seaport Deli, and I know this because my sister lives right down the block on Long Island. Chicken cutlet, melted jack and cheddar cheese, crispy bacon, lettuce, tomato, topped with pepper house dressing on a toasted garlic hero. Love it.
I got to tell you, that sounds a lot better than the Larry David sandwich on Curb Your Enthusiasm, the white fish and the capers and Ted Danson's like that sounds awful. Oh, so that I got to go get the Mats. That sounds great.
Before I let you go, man, tell me about this outfield. I mean, you mentioned Cedric Mullins, and obviously everybody's excited about Chandler Simpson, but there's some other names out there and guys with some pop that I think a lot of people are wondering, like, where is this offensive production going to come from the outfield?
Well, there's going to be a lot of platooning, I think. If the season started right now, you're probably looking at 5 or 6 guys who can play in the outfield. Chandler Simpson, presumably in left, Cedric Mullins in center. Then in right field, you have Jake Fraley, who had a big game yesterday, a couple of diving catches out there. He gave all the credit to analytics in baseball because he looks at the card and he said, you know what? They know how to position me the right way, but he made a couple of outstanding plays out there. So that would probably be against right-handed pitching. Then you got Johnny DeLuca, the guy who had some bad elk. I guess he undercooked it the other day, and that's why he came in the back end of that game against the Red Sox on Monday, but ended up walking them off with a 2-run single with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. So he'll be back. Remember, DeLuca played in just 20 games last season, but he's a valuable player out there. He can defend quite well and can hit a little bit. And then you have Ryan Valade, who I think is going to play some outfield too, another right-hand hitter. Valade's also played a little bit of second. He might even play some first when Jonathan Aranda goes to play for Team Mexico. So I think there's a lot to like about that outfield. Richie Palacios back in camp also. He only played in 17 games last year for the Rays, and we know that he can play outfield and some infield. I think it's all going to come back to, can Junior Caminero do what he did last season? Can he elevate his game even further? What about Jonathan Aranda? Can we get a full, healthy season out of him? Because he was excellent last year. Remember, he was an all-star, hit .316 before going down with that unfortunate injury. And then, of course, Yandy Diaz, who's kind of the stalwart in there now. What will he do as the team's presumed designated hitter? Also, look at the catchers. Hunter Fiducia, right? 429-foot home run yesterday. So he's got some serious pop, a 3-run blast against the Twins. I'm excited, Jay, and what do we talk about last season? I know people are they're gonna point to the American League East. This is so stacked. The Yankees, the Red Sox, the Orioles, the Blue Jays. Last season, when we talked about predictions, you said, who do you like in this division besides Toronto? Because we don't think they're going to be very competitive. And I said, Jay, the Blue Jays are going to be in it. They're going to make the playoffs. I didn't know they're going to come 2 outs to within winning the World Series. But it just goes to show you that we have no idea how it's all going to pan out. I like this Rays team. I think they're pretty solid just about everywhere. Are the Yankees going to be as good? We'll see. The Red Sox, sure, they added Ranger Suarez and Sonny Gray. However, they lost Alex Bregman. So what kind of pressure is that going to put on guys like Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell? Will the pressure be too great when the onus is on them to produce runs? The Orioles, what's their rotation going to look like? They have Zach Eflin and Shane Baz. We know that. 2 out of the 5. What are the other 3 going to look like? They added Pete Alonso, but they're still a pretty young team. And then the Blue Jays, can they repeat what they did last season? It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But I had to tell you about the Blue Jays remark last season. I have not forgotten about it, my friend. Let's hope it's the same for the Rays, because right now projections have them finishing 4th or 5th in the division. But I think that's exactly where Tampa Bay likes to be, underestimated. And then we'll hit the field and we'll see what happens.
For the greatest preseason predictions and the winning lottery numbers, follow him on Twitter. Chris Adams Wall, Rays Radio. It's so great to catch up with you, my friend. I'll see you here in the next couple of weeks, man. I can't wait for our first. I know opening day is not at home, but I can't wait for that first game back at Tropicana Field. Keep up the great work, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for your time.
You too, Jay. Thanks for having me. Go Knicks.
Yes, go Knicks, baby. This is he. You want to talk about a guy that knows something straight to my heart. It's our pal, Chris Adams Wall. I was talking to our pal today here, one of the video guys here for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's a huge Knicks fan as well. And he and I are always going back and forth about the Knicks. And I think they're in such a good spot because everybody else is worrying about how they look in the regular season. This Knicks team is kind of formulating what their bench is looking like. They'll get Miles McBride hopefully back in a couple of weeks. I think they're going to be in good shape, baby. So watch. You think I was like a pain in the ass for U.S. hockey? If the Knicks win the World Series, I'm going to be bawling like a baby. I'm going to be crying. I'll be in the fetal position. I don't care. That is my team. That is my jam. I might, if they make it to the finals, I'll probably fly up to New York and watch it with my dad because my dad was a phenomenal basketball player. And the Knicks are just, that's our team, man. That's our team. We love basketball. We love our guy, Chris Adams Wall. Chris, you're the best, buddy. Rays Radio, Neil Solons, Andy Freed, the whole crew, Chris Miller, Chris Adams Wall. I love those guys. They are the best. I feel better. And listen, I tell you what, I feel better about the Rays because of him. Did I say Knicks win the World Series? Knicks win the NBA championship. You know what I mean. Becca Carney as well. I love the whole crew over there. But Chris Adams Wall has made me feel better about the Rays than anybody else that I've talked to so far. He makes a lot of good points. Solid players. Solid. I like what he used the word. He wasn't going above and beyond. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Cannot wait. What a crazy-ass freaking night in the Tampa Bay area. And I want you guys to make sure that you're supporting our friends at 813-PREPS, 813preps.com. My good buddy Jared Guthrie and the crew over there. I was at Jefferson High School last night for the matchup against Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner was 0-4 going into that game. My good buddy Cenzo Scagno, the head coach over there, his dad Vince, another good friend of mine, the assistant coach, to watch them get their first win of the year, a 5-0 victory over Jefferson. And I've told you, Jefferson is one of the best teams around. Coach Spencer Nunez and the crew over there. You just never know, man. You never know. High school baseball here in the Tampa Bay area is nuts. It's nuts. There's so much talent all over the place. And then I looked last night and I swore that this was a misprint. I did not have any inkling that this was true. I don't know if you saw this, but last night there was a game between Sickles and Alonzo. Sickles won 24-14. And I thought it was a football score. I thought something happened where it was a 2-1 game, and they unfreaking believable. Londi Faedo says that was something else. Definitely wild. Eric Luxus, the head coach of Sickles, it was abnormal, strange. Nobody expected this, and that's what we hit, and that's the beauty of the game. You have to see this write-up. Again, 813preps.com. The two teams combined for 38 runs, 27 hits, 9 errors, 17 walks, 11 strikeouts, 69 at-bats, 13 pitchers. I mean, that game, that's insane. Absolutely insane. I had a double and triple check. And these are two good teams. These are two good teams. You're looking at Sickles and Alonzo, two of the best coach teams. It's like a softball game. That's like something you'd see at Greco softball complex every Wednesday night with the Pendingos. Not a battle between two of the better teams in the county between Sickles and Alonzo. Unbelievable. Also, we saw a no-hitter last night. I mentioned Dane Moore in Freedom High School. You look at this young man who was the player of the week for it was David Simpkins, who was the player of the week last week for 813 Preps. He throws a no-hitter last night against Brandon. Unbelievable what Dane Moore's doing over there with the Patriots. I'll definitely head on out over there and check out those guys sooner rather than later. And then last night, you guys know how much I love UT. You know how much I love Joe Urso. But what happened last night to the University of Tampa baseball team was just absolutely incredible. They lost their first game, the game of the season. And they lost to Savannah State. And it pushes their record to 11-1. And Savannah State ends up, they're improving their record to 9-5. The crazy thing about that game last night was that the guy that was starting for Savannah State last night had a similar last name. Yes, it was Salvatore Urso. Sal Urso beating University of Tampa, throwing the first 3 innings scoreless. Again, it's one of those things that you see and you're like, that can't be right. That can't be right. But that is what makes baseball so great. Baseball, the things that happen in baseball, you can't predict it because it just sounds corny. You're like, there's no way that's true. There's no way that that's supposed to happen. And you look at Savannah State, they've had some pretty good players over the years from the Tampa Bay area. And to look at that game last night, and they're going into a battle against UT, and Salvi, whose uncle is the head coach of the University of Tampa, he comes away and he throws 3 scoreless innings. That's the way it goes, man. That's baseball. That is baseball. Beautiful thing. Let's see. I got practice tomorrow night, and then I'm going to go see Tampa Catholic against Indian Rocks Christian. Oh, yeah, another thing, too. I want to call this kid out. Make sure you show some love. Our guy, Tommy Chuck, who is one of the big wigs over there at iHeartMedia, still a really, really good friend of mine. One of my bosses when I was over at WDAE. His son, Bergen Ray, is an 8th grader at Tampa Prep. 8th grade, and he's playing varsity, and he does not look out of place. And last night, he had a big hit against Carrollwood Day School, a double down the left field line to bring in what ended up being the game-winning runs. Again, his write-up is up on 813preps.com, but Bergen Ray is a very, very special young player, young kid, young man, great kid, but a player in 8th grade already making a difference for A.J. Hendricks and Tampa Prep. Unfreaking believable. That is a name to keep an eye on. Bergen Ray. He's catching, too. That's the thing. It's one thing to be an 8th grader. You're playing second base. You're playing maybe an outfield spot. You're catching. I'm talk about responsibility. Holy smokes. So shout out to Bergen Ray and the big hit that he had yesterday for Tampa Prep. Going back to the Jefferson and Steinbrenner game, I got a chance to interview Bo Livingston, who was throwing absolute gas, the junior from the Warriors. 6 scoreless innings there. And then my good buddy, Will Hoblitzel. He is just a big-time factor for the Warriors. 2 for 4 in RBI, 2 RBIs in the double last night. He plays for my buddy, Coach Pat Russo, during the summer. He's a problem. And when I showed up to the game last night, I said, I want to interview you tonight. Do something good. And that's exactly what he did. A couple of knocks, a double, some RBIs, and then a diving catch in right field. High school baseball is just, it never stops. I got a chance to speak to Pop Cuesta last night, the legendary coach, about some of the best teams in Jefferson history. And he was telling me about Sam Militello, who pitched in the big leagues, pitching coach at UT, the great Fred McGriff, Luis Gonzalez, Tino Martinez. And I found out that last night, Tino Martinez is probably the most feared hitter in the history of Tampa Bay high school baseball. He got intentionally walked 16 times in one season. 16 intentional walks. There were teams out here that were treating him like Barry Bonds back in the mid-'80s, and no surprise that he had such a good MLB career. All right, before we are joined by Erik Erlendsson from lightninginsider.com, let's make sure we show some love to our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all of your residential and commercial needs. 813-244-0956. Kitchen renovations, bathroom renovations. You're trying to deal with somebody that is going to take care of your home, not just your house, your home. I trust Hammer. We call him Russ. We call him Hammer. He's the kind of guy that you want to trust with renovations in your house. If you have that room that you're kind of turned from let's just say a spare bedroom into an office or a man cave or something like that, he can help you out with it. Make sure you mention the J Recher podcast and you get a discount on your work there. 813-244-0956, thehonesthammer.com, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. Shoot him an email. Whatever you got to do, that is the guy. He will do work for you. And then also EverHealth. We'll have our EverHealth injury report tomorrow at 12:30 with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. He joins us on the program after being at a conference last week. We'll talk about I wanted to ask him about Mike Evans. And we've been hearing a couple of different things about the cold weather, about the hot weather, how it affects the hamstring injury. So we'll talk to Doc about that. Also, the finger injury to our Oklahoma City correspondent, Robert Cochran. We'll ask him about that as well. If you guys have any questions when it comes to the medical field, when it comes to health, the Doc will help us out. Again, 12:30 today. 12:30 Thursday, excuse me. Rink of Dreams going on right now here at Benchmark International Arena. 7:30 tonight. Puck drop between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I would anticipate Andrei Vasilevsky between the pipes for the Bolts. Jake Guentzel back in the lineup. Again, if you're just joining us, Jake Guentzel playing tonight. He'll most likely be on the line with Dominic James and Gage Gonsalves. I would see the returning Braden Point in there with Nikita Kucherov and Brandon Hagel, who also played tonight after competing in the gold medal game against Jake Guentzel and Team USA. Third line of Gord, Girgensons, and Holmberg. And then that final line, we'll see Douglas. And we'll definitely see Bjorkstrand. He'll be in there. And he'll be in there probably with either Curtis Douglas or Scott Sabry. Emil Lilleberg returns. Charlie Wardescu returns. We'll have Victor Hedman in the lineup as well as Moser, Radish, Chernak, and McDonough. So getting closer to having this team healthy. No Nick Paul. He'll be out for a little bit, and it looks like Anthony Cirelli could make his return on Saturday. Definitely out tonight and tomorrow. And the Lightning will also be without John Cooper, the head coach of our Bolts, who unfortunately lost his father the other night. He is en route, if he's not there already, to Vancouver. Just so sad. So sad. Also, Sidney Crosby put on injured reserve. He's going to miss at least 4 weeks. He sustained that injury in the Olympics against Czechia. So there you go. Big win for Duke last night. Cam Boozer with unbelievable performance. H.I. Dabansa, they lost to UCF last night. UCF just beat the snot out of them. They just kept rolling. And listen, you know me, I'm not a big UCF guy, but they hit 14 threes last night. They were on it. This is a match tonight that is going to tell us a lot about Coach Brian Hodgson's crew as they travel to Texas to take on Rice. Now, USF is 19-8, but they are first in the conference, and they're battling a team that's 11-16. This is one of those, I don't know if you want to say trap games, but this is just proof. These are the games that you're supposed to win. And sometimes those are the hardest ones because Rice really has nothing to lose. They're going to go out there and they're just going to chuck it, and they're going to do whatever it takes. They're going to try to take the game to the Bulls, and they're going to try to attack Isaiah Nelson down low. They're going to try to do whatever they can to close out on the three-point shooters of Wes Ennis and Joe Pinion. No traps, baby. Tonight we'll learn a lot. We'll learn a lot about this USF team, that they can go and they can take care of business. We're getting closer, man. There's only a couple more days left in February, and then March Madness is right around the corner. First couple of rounds here. That's going to be so much fun. And then when you look at the Valspar coming up in a couple of weeks, my parents will be down here for that. I cannot wait. Ryan Callahan event is going to be on Friday night, raising money for families that have dealt with or dealing with pediatric cancer. It's a group that I'm very happy to be a part of, and I can't wait to be emceeing the event on Friday night, and we'll have a nice fireside chat with Ryan and Kyle Callahan, kind of giving people a behind-the-scenes look of what they do and how this foundation came to be. And we had Ryan on the show last week talking about USA Hockey and talking about the Ryan Callahan Foundation and how much it means to him to be able to use that platform to be able to give back. Just to, guys, when you watch these stories of these families, when you see the videos and you see all the things that they have to deal with, and they're tens of thousands of dollars in debt because of the cost of these procedures and the medical care for their kids. I mean, you would do anything for your children. You would do anything to make sure that you could help them get better. And just sometimes people just they run out of resources. And I was talking to our good friend Deandra Lou from the Hockey News today. To hear what Kyla and Ryan Callahan do, it's just amazing. In the middle of the night, people have their lights off or they can't pay their car payment, and Kyla takes care of it. They're special people. They are special people, and I'm just so glad to be a part of it. Do whatever you can, please, to help them out. RyanCallahanFoundation.org. I cannot wait for Friday night. All right, let's bring him in. This guy with some new and improved internet service. And as I say that, he's probably going to get dropped at some point today. That's just the way it goes. Erik Erlendsson, LightningInsider.com. What's going on, Double E? How are you?
If I fake a freeze, will everybody be fooled?
No, I don't think so, because we had some issues a little bit with Chris Adams' wall before. So it actually might be me today more than anything. We'll start out with the unfortunate news of John Cooper and his father passing away. We know that he missed a game a couple of weeks ago. We all kind of had an idea that it had something to do with that. But what a range of emotions for Coop, huh? Double E over the last week and a half or so.
Yeah, I was thinking about that on the ride back from the rink, going from the last game against Florida and the questions we asked about how quickly he could flip the switch and go from Tampa Bay Lightning head coach to Team Canada head coach and being a part of that process. And, and then losing the gold medal game in overtime and the disappointment for that team in Canada and, the emotions he must have been going through. And then, you get home and then, you get the news that your father passed away. I can't imagine what it's like. It's a very, very difficult time, obviously, for anybody who's lost a parent. It is difficult to deal with, even though, it's going to happen at some point, right? It's never easy to deal with. And, my mom was sick in 2009 and, you're not prepared for it, even though you're prepared for it, right? So it is a lot of emotions and it's a lot to deal with for sure. And so, condolences to John Cooper and his family for their loss. I had the opportunity to meet his dad once or twice on some of those father's trips, mentors trips back when I was still traveling and working for the paper. And, you see where Coop gets his personality from, and, the cracking jokes and everything else. I mean, his dad was kind of like the same type of personality. So, but it always very sad when these situations happen for sure.
Jake Guentzel obviously spoke today and let everybody know that it wasn't like a political statement of him not going to the White House, but, there is, people out there putting out misinformation with certain things. And he was just like, listen, man, I didn't decline. I got to get back here. And that's a big part of it, right? Like, that's a big part of these guys. You want to celebrate, but a huge part of after the Olympics is turning the page and getting back to what you're getting paid millions of dollars to do, right? I mean, and especially a team like this that really has hopes of winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it is interesting how, certain guys on that team handle it, right? Like 20 to 25 players on the roster did attend the White House. Not every one of them went to the State of the Union address. Some of them left after that, including Austin Matthews, who was in town last night and is expected to play for the Leafs tonight in the same game that obviously Jake Guentzel is playing. And so, it was a family decision and it was a team decision. 3 games in 4 nights to come back from the break for especially those guys that played into the medal games over the weekend, including Erik Erlendsson and Brandon Hagel. 27 games in 50 days for this team to finish. Like, I'm not very good at math, but that math is tough. It's tough for this team to deal with, right? I mean, that's more than basically one every other day. And you look at their schedule, March, it basically is every other day with a couple of Sunday games back-to-backs thrown in there. It is a difficult stretch. So he just, wanted to make sure that he took advantage of the extra night at home, to rest and be with his family because, he's over there in Italy and, you have a job to do when you're at the Olympics, right? That's part of the job too. Yes. And, he played right up until the end and 7 extra games that he played. So, just decided to take advantage of the time off. And as he mentioned, he was at the White House in 2017 when the Penguins won the Stanley Cup. So, not a political statement, a decision based on spending time with his family and getting as much rest as possible. I've never flown back from Europe except for from Iceland, but those are not easy flights to recover from either.
No. Yeah, that's a great point. That is a great point. Coach Rob Zettler let us know, and I was saying this on the show yesterday, it just looked like everything was kind of going into 11-7. They really only have, I don't know if they have anybody that can play center like on that fourth line with they've constructed the lines. But what do you think it's going to look like tonight as far as what forwards are going to play and 11-7, which 7 defensemen are going to play?
It certainly looks like the scratches will be Curtis Douglas and Declan Carlisle.
Okay.
So we'll obviously continue to see Moser and Radish paired together. We'll continue to see McDonough and Chernak paired together. And then you're going to have Hedman with Dastu and Lilleberg. Looks like Lilleberg and Dastu will both be back in the lineup. You could probably even see some shifts with Dastu and Lilleberg together, right? Remember in December before Lilleberg got hurt, it was Dastu and Lilleberg who played together, and they were pretty good with Lilleberg on the right side. So, a lot of options for Rob Zettler, who runs the defense, to kind of choose from and work with. And, he even said it is going to be a challenge for him to make sure everybody gets into the game early, gets involved early. And some guys who are used to heavy minutes might not be getting those minutes. So we'll keep an eye on that tonight. Obviously, Braden Point coming back as well tonight. That's big news. And I expect he'll slide right back in with Guentzel and Kucherov. And, Dominic James probably centers the second line, probably with Hagel and Gonsalves. And you'll keep the Gord line together. And Bjorkstrand and Sabrin will probably be your fourth line fragment.
Yeah. And I wonder, too, because we saw so much success from Guentzel, Gonsalves, and James, do they stay with that line on the second line and have Hagel go with Point and Cooch? I mean, we've seen so many different iterations, so no surprise in whatever decision they make. Our good buddy David Terry, he's a great dude. Unfortunately, he's a Liverpool fan, so, I mean, nobody can be perfect. What's the chances of getting Trocheck by the deadline? I mean, I brought this up last week because people keep asking me doubly what this team needs, and right, everybody can always use a defenseman, but you're looking at a guy right-handed that can win draws. I mean, we saw what they did it for Team USA. It's just going to cost you, right? It's going to cost you. You know how much he makes, but he still has some term. I don't see how they don't trade a Nick Paul or a Oliver Bjorkstrand and a defenseman for a guy like Trocheck. Like, that's what's going to have to happen. As far as, not saying that I would, but just that's the type of cost. And also, you're not going to trade for a guy like that and not play him in your middle six, right? So what's the realistic possibilities you think that they would go out and get a guy like that?
I'm kind of with you in the cost situation, right? I mean, you have found out that maybe you have more depth than you thought this season, right? 55 games in here. I don't think anybody expected Declan Carlisle to come in and play the way that he has this season and establish himself as a guy who can play NHL minutes. So that's, been a big boost. He kind of fits some of the mold, right? You mentioned he's a right-hand shot. He can win draws. He's a defensive guy. He can kill penalties. Obviously, that was a big part of his role for Team USA. But Julian, term left on his contract is something Julian kind of works his way towards as well. But you just get the sense he doesn't go big game hunting. And I think that Vincent Trocheck sort of falls into that quote-unquote big game hunting mold, right? And is he a guy who's going to play in your top six? I don't know if he plays in your top six. So do you want to bring in a guy like that who's going to play fourth line minutes, kill penalties, and win some draws? I mean, it's certainly face-offs have been an issue. And from the right-hand side, they've been an issue, right? Because Braden Point's are only right-hand center. Now, especially now with Jack Finley having been claimed off waivers by St. Louis earlier this month, right? So you don't have anybody else to win those draws on that side of the dot. So there are a lot of things to check boxes on there, but I'm kind of with you. It's probably going to cost you 2 players and a prospect or 2 players and a high draft pick. And, we'll see. Julian usually has something up his sleeve. I don't know if Vinny Trocheck falls into that list.
And I just don't it's weird because I think he's exactly what they need. I just don't know if that's what Julian does, right? Because like if we wake up tomorrow and they say, hey, they acquired Vinny Trocheck, I don't know who's not going to like that deal, right? It's not one. That's the hard part about it. I think he would be, second, third line center, right? He's going to win draws. But again, if he's only going to play 11, 12 minutes a night, because remember, he's playing first, second line minute with the Rangers, and they were just in the Eastern Conference Finals a couple of years ago, and he was a huge part of it. And I just wonder if the cost, because it really wasn't all that high for Artemi Panarin, does it come down a little bit? Is it lower than you think, right? And I know it's a guy with terms, so it's a little bit different, but you just kind of wonder because Chris Drury isn't making making a lot of great decisions right now. I'm surprised he still has his job. So there's a lot of variables in a deal like that. If it's not for a guy like that, because listen, we're on a mad dash for the end of the season. We're also on a mad dash for the trade deadline, and it'll be here before you know it. What else would they go out and get?
Well, first of all, I don't know if Panarin's situation factors into anything else, right? Because that was such a unique situation, and he only had one team that he was willing to go to, and so in a lot of ways, Chris Drury was sort of trapped in that and had to make a deal. He had to make a deal. He announced he was going to make a deal. He had to make a deal. With Trocheck, he's got 3 more years left on his deal. That's a lot of years at 5.625 cap hit. As I look it up here, I don't know if that fits the mold because of the guys you already have under contract and everything else. And, that's a lot of money. And he's making the fourth most, he's got the fourth high cap hit on the Rangers. And that's a lot to give up. I still think with this team, face-offs is sort of that niche role that you want to fill. You hope that if you can't fill it, that it doesn't come back to bite you at important times in games. Like 11 seconds left in the third period, protected a 1-goal lead, those type of situations. I still think if we're going to talk about the biggest need, I think it is a top 6 forward. I don't know if Vinny Trocheck on this lineup is a top 6 forward because Point and Sorelli are your top 2 centers. Right, those are your number 1 and number 2 centers, and you look at it, right? I mean, Dominic James, as great as he's played and everything else, he is still a rookie at the end of the day. Gage Gonsalves, I don't think is producing like you would want for a top 6 forward, and the role that he's been kind of given for a good portion of this year. And Oliver Bjorkstrand obviously is not in that conversation because they've barely given him much looks in the top 6. So to me, I think it's to find that number 6 forward. We know who the top 5 are when healthy. I think it's that number 6 guy that you kind of look at. If he can also be a center who can play wing and take some faceoffs, I think that sort of fits ideal. But to me, that's the area where they probably need to, address the most if we're looking at needs.
I know a guy, and he's good on the power play too. He's a right-handed shot. He can win draws. He's familiar with the Tampa Bay area. He knows how to get to the arena. I mean, it's stupid, E. It's stupid, but I mean, did you not just describe Steven Stamkos? Like, honestly, like take our emotions out of it because we love the guy, but like, are we talking about Steven Stamkos or no?
Description-wise, sure. I have not done my homework. I'll be honest. I probably should have.
I know, but there's, and I'm with you because I don't know if there's anybody off the top of the dome that like we're missing as far as a right-handed shot that can win draws, but it's just like that's the easy answer. It really is. I mean, if you know what you're getting, I think this team defensively, and I know a lot of was put into the 5-on-5 numbers, but you're better defensively now because before he was here, like you didn't have that Stu, you didn't have McDonough. You don't have, Sergachev anymore, who had his issues, and you have Jake Guentzel, who's a really good two-way player. I don't know, man. It just keeps speaking it into existence. Hopefully, something like that will happen. What about a guy like Luke Glendening? Do you try to peel it back a little bit? He's only making $775. He's a UFA after this year. Do you maybe bring him in because I think you're looking at fourth-line guys. You're looking at spots. I would rather have him maybe at certain times than a Douglas or a Sabrin if you're not worried about the physical presence, right?
Yeah, and we certainly seen, what Luke can do over the past couple of years because he
Yeah.
was their fourth line center for 2 years,
Mhm.
and he is a right hand shot and he can win draws. That's a big reason why Luke has had such a good career is
Yeah.
because he can win faceoffs and he is good defensively. And and I would have to imagine that that's not a very high price to do that, right? New Jersey brought him in
Right.
as a tryout contract and signed him to a deal. I think what's kind of scared the light even away from re-signing him this past year is he has had those injuries right at
Yeah.
the end of the season.
Mhm.
Unfortunately for him, he didn't have a chance to really perform and do what he can do best when it came to the postseason the last 2 years because of the shoulder injuries, right? But if you're looking at just kind of on the cheap, bring in somebody that
Yep.
you put in a lineup who knows the system, knows his way to the arena,
Yeah.
can find his way around the locker room and fits in for certainly in a lot of situations. And it probably wouldn't cost you much at all to make that happen because New Jersey's kind of fallen off the map here. We'll see if they can get
Yeah.
a boost from Jack Hughes and what he was able to accomplish at the Olympics. But New Jersey looks like they're on the outside looking in this year.
Love Jack Hughes now. Never was a Jack Hughes fan. Be a Jack Hughes fan for life now. David Terry brings up a name that a lot of people are, obviously you want to go back to the well as humanly possible, as much as humanly possible. Blake Coleman. I don't know. I love Blake, of course. You would take him on your team, but does he really fit what they need? Like you just said, I don't know if he's a top 6 forward. He's not a guy that is a right-handed shot that can take draws. Does Blake Coleman fit to what they need, Eric?
I think he is a top 6 guy. When they acquired him the first time, he was a top 6 forward in New Jersey. Now he was asked to play a different role here. But again, he's got 1 year left on his contract, and his cap hits $4.9 million. He is 34 years old now, right? We kind of lose sight of Blake Coleman and his age. And this is not the same team that Blake Coleman was on. A couple of years ago, you look at the roster turnover from when he was with the team when they won the cup in 2021. So I know we all like to go back to nostalgia, and certainly they've proven that, right, with some of the guys that they have brought back through the years, and they've had success, right? Yanni Gourde has kind of plugged right in and been, Yanni Gourde, maybe not the production offensively that we're used to seeing from Yanni, but you're getting the type of player, the pest, the high energy guy that he was before. He still has that, even at this point of his career. And you're right. I love Blake Coleman. I love what Blake Coleman brought here. He can kill penalties. He can play on a number 2 power play. He can play top 6 minutes. But we're talking about guys again who, in what is going to be a seller's market, because so many teams are still in the race, which is going to drive up prices for guys. Blake Coleman's going to be sought after, right? Because of that Stanley Cup pedigree and everything else. So, I don't know. Last time around, Blake Coleman was the type of player Julian identified as somebody they had to have on their team. I don't know if Blake Coleman is still the same guy that you feel you have to have on your team.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It just seems like him playing for the Stars at some point is going to make sense, right? A kid from Texas, just feel like it makes sense. What was your weekend like for watching that gold medal game? Were you at practice or were you at home?
I was actually in Orlando taking advantage of the last open weekend. So we spent a couple of nights, over on Disney property. So set the alarm for 8 a.m., rolled out of bed, turned on the big screen TV, woke up my youngest, who was sleeping out there on the sofa couch, and watched the game from there. So it was quiet somewhat, trying not to wake up everybody else in the small little room that we had. But that was me watching it, and I might have pushed a little bit past official checkout time to make sure I could watch the medal ceremony. I was like, I knew it. I knew we were going to be okay unless the game went to overtime. And of course the game went to overtime.
Oh my gosh. Did anybody else get up and watch it with you?
Yeah. Well, I woke up my youngest because again, he was on the sofa bed, the pulled out sofa. So he had no choice but to wake up. I think he would have anyway, but he had no choice.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And it was just such a great game, and to be able to see hockey. I mean, it's grown so much. I was talking to Ryan McDonough about it today, and he's just like, it's a shame that we haven't gone to the Olympics since, all these years ago. How many moments have we missed because the players weren't playing there? And you get it. And that's the hard part is right now we're talking about how great of an experience it was. But, if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins and Sidney Crosby and you're the LA Kings, who just went out and got Artemi Panarin and now Kevin Fiala's out for the year, we're not thinking about it from their perspective, right? So I can kind of see, as much as I enjoyed it, we'd have a different tenor in our voice right now, Eric, if something bad happened to one of the top Lightning players,
For sure. And it happens every Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Like I saw a quote from Glenn Gulitson today. Obviously, Mikko Rantanen's out for at least a couple of weeks, and Radek Faksa is injured for them as well. Rupe Hintz, I think, came back with the flu, so he's going to miss a couple of games with them as well. I think he said, if you're asking me right now, I wish the Olympics didn't happen, but at the time, I thought it was the right thing to do, and I think that's what a lot of people's feelings towards it are. I think it is the right thing to do, and they are very high intense games, and especially that Czechia Canada game, right? Like that was a pretty high intense game on both sides. One of those teams was not going to make it to the medal round. So Czechia certainly played that game hard, like they wanted to win, and they did want to win, obviously. And yeah, it sucks for these teams that are going to lose players, especially the Kings and Fiala. I mean, he's such a big part of that roster in LA. By the way, we find out that JJ Moser was Kevin Fiala's roommate at the Olympic Village. So he said next time he goes, maybe he'll tell him that he's bad luck. Don't have anybody room with me.
Yeah.
So he can have his own room. But yeah, I think we are robbed. I mean, like I think about this stuff a lot, whether the NHL should go, whether they shouldn't go. I'm in favor of going. Obviously, it means a lot to the players, to be able to participate in these things. And especially right now, like how many kids who are 8, 9 years old watched that game and said, I want to be Jack Hughes.
Yeah.
Right. I want to be Quinn Hughes. Right. Like it's those, that's the growth of the game. That's especially obviously we're close here, US, and how that 1980 team inspired the 1996 World Cup team. And that 96 World Cup team kind of spurred a lot of the generation that came after them. And now this generation is going to inspire a lot of other young players,
right,
who are watching that moment. So it's hard sometimes to put something tangible on what that growth potential means, but it means something. Even if you had, a kid in, Czechia or, in one of those areas in Europe who are watching, man, look at Connor McDavid. I don't get a chance to watch Connor McDavid very much. Man, what a player he is. I want to play hockey because I got to watch Connor McDavid. Those are the type of things that you don't really ever get a sense to feel for the impact it's going to have when you put the sport and the league on a global stage like that, because it is a spotlight. It's a spotlight unlike any other thing in hockey, right? It's the World Cup. Basically, think about how many eyes are on the World Cup every 4 years. And the fact that it's been 12 years since the NHL has been able to participate. They didn't want to go in 18. COVID hit in 2022, kind of, denied us that opportunity to see some of this. But to me, it's the exposure and the growth. And I think that's the league's long-term investment idea in this as they continue to look for ways to grow the game globally. It's already an international game. They've played games in Germany. They've played games in China. They played games in Prague, in all these other countries. And, now, maybe you could expose, more Norwegians, right? Everybody's asked about why is Norway so good at the Winter Olympics, but they can't have a very competitive hockey team, right? Compared to Sweden and Finland. Right. So if you expose the game, and to me, that's the greatest thing from the league's perspective about going to the Olympics is that type of growth that you can connect with in young, kids and everything else to get them to play the game, participate in the game, and grow the game.
Double E, what do we have up on lightninginsider.com, buddy?
All the injury stops and everything else that we found out yesterday. As soon as I get off the line here with you, I'm going to put together busy morning. at the morning skate. A lot of stuff going on, so I'm going to try and wrap up all that before I head out the door and go down to the arena for the first time in almost 3 weeks. We get to
Wow.
watch a live hockey game.
Unfreaking believable. Go to lightinginsider.com. Use that promo code JNZ. Get $10 off, not just this year, but every recurring season after that. Erik _Erlendsson on Twitter /X. That's a K, not a C. 2 S's after the D. Erik, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. I'll see you tonight. We'll talk next week.
Yep, sounds good. Be well.
Thanks, buddy. You too. The great Erik Erlendsson, lightinginsider.com. Subscribe today. It seems like we're in the midst of a very special season for the Tampa Bay Lightning, doesn't it? I mean, you get that feeling. You don't want to, get too far ahead of yourselves, but it's just a lot going on. I feel like with all the injuries, Coop, this would be a great year to win it. It'd be a great year to win it. You look at what everybody's had to deal with. You look about the chips on the shoulders and just go through the lineup. Like Cooch and Vazzy not getting an opportunity to play in the Olympics, right? McDonough battling back from injuries, Hetty battling back from injuries, Point battling back from injuries, and Cirelli, right, not being able to represent their countries. Guentzel winning the gold medal, Hagel losing the gold medal. Like, there's just so many storylines. John Cooper, the tragedy on and off the ice. Like, man, this is the season that movies are made about. And man, it would be great if they did something at the deadline to kind of just shake it up. I mean, Trocheck would be nice, but think about it. And again, I know I'm biased. I am biased. I don't care. I'm biased. Imagine there was a way that Julian Brisebois was able to find a way to bring Steven Stamkos back. I know what the rest of the cost is, but if they could retain some of the salary, if they traded, a couple of guys, think about the buzz. Because you have to worry about any move that you're making of any kind of epic proportion. You'd have to worry about how it affect the chemistry of the team. That's one that could only help. It's why there was no trepidation about bringing Ryan McDonough back. There was no worry about having Yanni Gourde come back into the fold. Can you imagine what that first game would be like here at Benchmark International Arena if they went out and traded for Steven Stamkos? I mean, that would be a high that Snoop Dogg would pay for. Yeah, I mean, if you're the Predators and you want to get out from underneath some of the contract, just say you'll eat half of it. Just say you'll pay for this year, you'll pay the rest of this year, for next year, for the following year. Tell me the Lightning will pay $4 million the next 2 years for Steven Stamkos, and they wouldn't like that. The guy that can help you with the draws, a guy that's going to help you on the power play, a guy that's going to help you in so many different ways. He could play second line, third line. It also gives you a little bit of insurance in case, Radish leaves. And damn, man. I'm just keep speaking it into existence. I want good things to happen. I want my guy back. That'd be so great. Please, if the hockey gods are up there, please. All right. We're moments away from chatting with our guy, Matt Matera, up there in Indianapolis from the NFL Combine. Jason Light spoke yesterday. Todd Bowles spoke yesterday. Not real, breaking news when it comes to Mike Evans and from Levante David. It's kind of the same stuff, right? It's kind of the same stuff with those guys. There's nothing really new. It's just speculation here, speculation there. What's your opinion on their return? Blah, 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 blah. Not really much news when it comes to those guys. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, you look at, we're just talking about Stamkos and nostalgia. I don't know when you look at Evans and Levante, how healthy Mike Evans is going to be, right? Going into this season, he already seems like he is going to chat with other teams and see what's out there. And then a guy like Levante David, where his play has fallen off, you have enough guys here from the championship team where I don't think that you're going to be taking as much of a hit when it comes to the leaders. And if that's the case where you lose both those guys and the leadership takes a hit and the team's not good, then you're going to blow it all up anyway when you get rid of Todd Bowles. So I think the Buccaneers need to be very smart with how they construct this roster. They have to get younger. They have to get bigger. They have to get faster. And when you bring back Mike Evans and you bring back Levante David, I don't think they fit any of the three of those categories. So sometimes tough decisions have to be made. I'm very curious to see what happens with Jason Light and Todd Bowles. I want to see a sense of urgency for the Bucs, a sense of urgency of like, hey, man, we got a good team. Let's make a move here. Let's do something to give us a chance to compete and contend. Because you just never know what's going to happen in the National Football League. Nobody and their mother, and it's funny that Chris Adams Wall brought this up. He said with me last year, the Toronto Blue Jays is a team to keep an eye on. Smart guy. And look at what happened with them. Just never know, man. You never know what's going to happen. Nobody saw New England, Seattle coming either. Jay, why can't we pay Mike whatever he wants and just defer the money? We always hear the salary cap is fake. Do we know our cap space? Yeah, I mean, you can look it up on Spotrac, spotrac.com. Has all the information on there. I don't want to bring it up now because I know Matt Matera is going to join us here in a minute. You don't want to deal with that unless you have to, right? And with a guy like Mike, you want the money to be guaranteed as well. So you just kind of want to deal with what he wants and then go from there. Because the dead cap money, I don't know how much more it would be, but it usually would be more than what you would actually pay the guy. So that's not good because there's a penalty for that. I just hope they figure it out soon. The longer that this goes when it comes to Mike Evans, Levante David, the worse it is. Let's have an idea of where this team is going and then go from there. Let's go up to Indianapolis. He's checking in from the NFL Combine, the one and only, the last real champion of Buccaneer coverage, the one and only Matt Matera. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Doing great, man. I don't know as great as hitting a birdie at the Valspar, but doing pretty well.
2 birdies at the Valspar, Matthew. 2 birdies.
Excuse me. Sorry.
It's okay. I might not. I could play there for the next 10 years. I don't know if I'll hit one more of those birdies, but it was the first hole we played and the last hole we played. I'm way cooler in Aaron Jacobson's eyes now, so that's always a plus. What's the news from up there, buddy? What's it been like? I mean, it was great to hear from Todd Bowles and Jason Light up here. What's the biggest thing you could take away from the chat with those two guys?
Yeah, I would say the biggest takeaways, I'll start with Bowles first. He really pushed back on the notion that the defense is too complex and too sophisticated for some of the players. I mean, there was times he was interjecting when it was addressed that it was maybe a little bit too complex. And he said that the thing that kind of makes him sick to his stomach is the fact that, and he didn't say out loud the 3rd and 28, but it very much sounded like that's what he was alluding to, was your bread and butter basic type of defense that they allowed a lot of the miscommunications and a lot of the big plays overall. So to me, that was a really big takeaway from Todd Bowles specifically. For Jason, they certainly want to get an extension done with Baker Mayfield. So it sounds like those conversations are going to be happening soon. The other thing that really stood out to me is that we know Jason doesn't enjoy giving up draft capital, trading picks in order to get a player. It sounds like he's a bit more willing to trade one of their key players on this team if it meant getting a Max Crosby or somebody else. He talked a lot about how it's hard to say goodbye to players that have been so great for you for several years. Problem is the Bucs are paying so many of these veteran players over $20 million. It's tough to keep all these players on the roster while also trying to get new talent as well. He talked about the importance of staying flexible with your salary cap. So in case there is a surprise or an emergency, you can adapt quickly. So those were some of the big takeaways for sure.
You mentioned about trading, capital, trading players. If not Max Crosby, then for who? Linebacker, edge rusher. It's again, he's valued these draft picks so highly over the years, but I know it's tough to kind of pin down a specific player, but do you think he would use it for a specific position group on, hey, we may not be able to draft guys like this, but this is kind of how we can put a package together to bring in somebody that can be a big time factor in 2026?
Yeah, I think it would have to be another edge rusher. You know, you don't see like gigantic draft capital go for an inside linebacker. I know there was Roquan Smith a couple of years ago, but edge rusher, it can be argued, is the second most important position after quarterback. So without a doubt, in my mind, it would be edge rusher. But defensive tackle is another one to pay attention to, because another thing that Todd Bowles was talking about was I had asked him last year, the big mantra from Bowles, the big thing he emphasized was, I want ball hawks. I don't care what position, I want ball hawks. So I asked him, okay, that was your emphasis last year. What's your emphasis this year? He said, I want bigger players. I want players that are big. And he didn't specify, he said that's across the board. But it sounds like he wants big dudes in the middle. And when you think about Kalijah Cansey, a guy that's been injured a fair amount, he's considered a smaller defensive tackle. So maybe if a defensive tackle jumps up on the radar, that could be another position that they trade for.
What do you think about Kalijah Cansey as far as his future with this team? I mean, he's a guy that I think a lot of people look at, first-round pick, very athletic, but I don't know if he's really lived up to that draft status because of the injuries, right? I mean, I think that's a huge part of it. Do you think he could be possibly used as a trade piece? Is this a guy that they still want to build around? Because I look at Kalijah Cansey and I wonder, like, where's he at? Like, I just don't know. It's tough to gauge for Kalijah Cansey because everybody keeps, and I think that's the hard part about sports in general, is like, well, he was drafted and he was good, but there's a lot of good buts with Kalijah Cansey. What do you make of Kalijah Cansey's time with the Buccaneers? Do you think that they're going to commit to him long term, or could he be a possible trade candidate?
I think the best way to describe Kalijah is when he's on the field, he's been a huge asset for this team. I mean, 1 year, not too long ago, he led the team in sacks, which is not easy to do for a defensive tackle. The if, though, and it's a big if, is if he can stay healthy, which he has not proved to do throughout the entirety of his career. I mean, up until this most recent season, he couldn't even get through training camp. And then finally he gets through a training camp and gets injured in the second quarter of the second game of the season and wasn't able to return, unfortunately, until the season finale, which they needed to win, but ultimately didn't get into the postseason. It's a true gamble right now with Kalijah Cansey because you love the on-field production, but can you rely on it? So I think it's going to be really telling in the next couple of weeks because the Bucs do have to decide whether to pick up his fifth-year option. It's a roll of the dice because if you don't pick it up, but he stays healthy and he's able to produce and be one of the leading sackers on this team, then you're in a similar situation, different position, but what the Jaguars were in with their linebacker who balled out but did not have the fifth-year contract, so now he's hitting free agency. The other side of it is, okay, you take the fifth-year option for Kalijah Cansey. What if he ends up getting injured like he has the past couple of years? Is that what you want to invest in? The problem, too, is Vita Vea is in the last year of his deal, and they don't want to touch that contract because, you know, he is getting up there in age. He's still a very important piece of this defense, but you don't want to commit to that long-term right now. Are you willing to lose Vita Vea and Kalijah Cansey both at the same time? That's a true double whammy that I don't think the Bucs really want to explore. So my gut tells me they'll pick up the fifth-year option and kind of let Kalijah Cansey play it out. But I think they're definitely going to beef up the rest of the defensive line group, knowing they can't just put all their eggs in the Kalijah Cansey basket.
Where are you leaning when it comes to the Mike Evans and Levante David situation? I feel like it's the low-hanging fruit, and everybody and their mother is talking about it, but I guess we have to continue to address it until we have some finality to it.
No, for sure. I'll start with Levante. I think they'd be happy to have Levante back, but with the understanding of they do have to prepare for the future, and the future is now with the inside linebacker position. And my gut tells me Levante probably ends up retiring anyway, even though seeing Bobby Wagner say that he still wants to keep playing doesn't help Levante's case. Right now with Mike, if I had to answer today, my instinct is telling me that Mike is, I think, going to go somewhere else. And the Bucs Jason Light said he loves Mike. We all know that. That's very important. But if the Bucks have to give $20 million to Mike Evans, they're going to eventually have to trade someone else that's worth $20 million. So in a weird way, you obviously want Mike back, but if he's going to take a big deal with another team, I kind of think the Bucks are somewhat okay with that. I think they've prepared themselves to move on from Mike Evans. Not that they want to, but to understand that they can't afford him and all this other talent on their team. I mean, Jason and Todd spoke a lot about how Mike has earned the right to go and talk with other teams, and they want him to retire a buck. Todd was kind of pleading and keeping his fingers crossed and everything like that. But I don't think it's just necessarily Mike's, penchant for wanting to win. I think Mike kind of looks at how the end of the season ended last year, where Mike should have been the focal point, especially after that Thursday night game where he balled out against the Falcons on Thursday night. Then the Bucs decided the next week against Carolina, hey, we're going to run it 30 times. And Mike didn't really get many targets, and he wasn't a huge factor down the stretch while the offense was struggling. Mike can go to a couple of different teams right now, San Fran, New England, where he will be the top guy, the top dog, and not have to share reps and targets and everything with some of the other wide receivers. So Mike still has a legacy to finish. I don't want to say build because he's already a legend in his own right. But, this is a guy that wants to end up top 10 in most of the receiving stats in all time in NFL history. And you can do that with any team. You can do it with the Bucs. But when you look at the Bucs situation, look at some other teams, I'm not saying it's a wide gap, but I don't know. Kind of feels like 51-49 Mike's going to be on another team versus back in Tampa Bay.
Do you think that tarnishes his legacy at all if he goes to another team?
No. I mean, Warren Sapp was on another team. John Lynch was on another team. It's very rare in sports you see a player stay with one team for their whole career. And we keep saying on the Pewter Report podcast, if Tom Brady, like, who would have thought Tom Brady would have left the Patriots? If Tom Brady can leave and play for another team, really anyone else can. And I don't think it ruins Mike's legacy at all with Tampa.
Yeah, I think the big thing is, I don't know if it tarnishes it, but it does change it, right? Because, you think of Derek Brooks, you think of Rondé Barber, you think of those guys. And I know it's not prevalent for everybody, but for every, Tom Brady, there's a Derek Jeter, right? And there's these other teams that played literally for one team in their entire career. And I think a lot of fans out there look, Levante David, right? He retires and he's going to play with one team for more than 10 years. And I think it'll be sad. It'll be sad, in my opinion, if he goes to another team, which is kind of the nature of the beast. Linebacker position. I wanted to ask you about that. The Bucs need a lot. Servassier Dennis is a guy that I think was probably one of the most disappointing Buccaneers the entire year. Everybody kept saying he can cover. He looked like he was a better run stuffer than a guy that was a better pass coverage. What do you make of the linebacker position if Levante doesn't come back? Because I think even if he does, they still need help there.
Going to be a lot of new faces at inside linebacker, because I don't think the Bucs should go into this season with Servassier Dennis penciled in as a starter. To be honest with you, I think he's a fringe third string inside linebacker, probably would be better suited as a fourth string inside linebacker. I think the Bucs are going to double up at inside linebacker. And, as we've kind of learned today at the Combine, they're meeting formally with a lot of inside linebackers and defensive tackles and edge rushers as well. So those are the three big positions, but they're going to likely wind up drafting two inside linebackers and also addressing it in free agency as well to cover as many bases as they possibly can. So get ready to meet some new people in Tampa Bay at the linebacker position.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. What about the running back spot? I mean, we know what Bucky Irving, it looks like Rashad White is gone. Bucky is a little bit concerning to me too, man, because he has not been healthy. And the one thing you could say about Rashad, for the most part, he may not be as electric and dynamic as Bucky, but Matt, he was a guy that played the majority of the game. So what do you make of that position?
Well, they want Sean Tucker back. He is a restricted free agent, and I get the feeling that Sean Tucker will be back. Mm-hmm. The big question is who's going to be the third down guy, because Bucky is a smaller player, is a good receiving running back, but nobody compares to the pass blocking ability that Rashad White had. Right. So Sean Tucker was actually tweeting out the other day how good he's been as a pass blocker in a limited capacity. So either he's going to have to step up They're going to have to look into free agency a little bit. A lot of people like to tie Tyler Algier to Tampa Bay because he was with the Falcons, and Zach Robinson, who's now the Bucs offensive coordinator. I don't know if they're necessarily going to draft a running back based on all of the needs that they have at other positions, but it wouldn't surprise me if they try to go the Sean Tucker route again in terms of finding an undrafted free agent running back that can come in and end up being a factor. Because when Sean Tucker got more playing time, and I'm not talking about just the goal line carries where you have 3 attempts for 2 yards, but hey, he scored a touchdown. Like the Buffalo game is a great example of him with a larger role, how effective he can be. So I think they're going to lean into Sean Tucker a little bit more if he is back with this team.
Matt, before I let you go, when you're at the combine offensively, we speak so much about defensively. Are there any other positions you think they'll be looking at there?
Really tight end, because Cade Otton is up in the air right now. And it was interesting talking to Jason Light yesterday. He got asked about the tight end room overall. The first person Jason mentioned, he goes, love Ko, talking about Ko Keefe. Ko Keefe, he was injured and barely played this season. And he was staring at the ground a lot when he was talking about the tight end room and not really mentioning Cade Otton too much. So the tight end, to me, is a position that they're going to be looking at. Obviously, Kenyon Sadiq is the cream of the crop, and it would kind of be an Emeka Egbuka situation once again, where no one thinks they're going wide receiver or an offensive player in the first round, and then they go with Egbuka. That would be the case with Sadiq if he ends up being available when the Bucs are on the clock at 15. Outside of that, maybe a second or third round tight end. But yeah, really on offense, it's just tight end, find a third running back, and you could always use depth on the offensive line, on the interior of the offensive line.
Matty4_Matera. He is the man at Pewter Report, pewterreport.com. Those guys do a phenomenal job, Matt. I know you're a very busy man. Thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me today, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate you, man. See you later.
You're the best. Matt Matera, my guy, Matt Matera, one and only. Pewter Report, pewterreport.com. I know they're very busy, so for him to be able to take a couple minutes to chat with me today, I am eternally grateful. Thank you to Big Matt Matera. Thank you to Erik Erlendsson. Thank you to Chris Adams well for joining us on the program today. We're back in action, back at the home studio tomorrow. Eddie Encina, as well as Dr. Carlos Rodriguez will join us on the program as well. Here all night long, all night. Lightning Leafs tonight at 7:30 should be a good one. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Big thank you to Honest Hammer and Evra Health. Couldn't do this without them. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. It's weird to be here on a Wednesday, but have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher Podcast. I'm gone.